Welcome back to this video tutorial series on using Spaza Commerce. In this episode, we will be discussing the shipping section in the admin control panel. In other words, the shipping rules, charges, and all those settings that you could possibly add for your shipping and your couriers for your customers. So this is going to be quite an in-depth episode, so do stick around for that. If you haven't seen our other videos, please do go back and check them out just to make sure that you're up to speed with our demo store that we're setting up. Otherwise, sign in to your store by visiting www.spaza.co, selecting the store that you'd like to work on, and then you can just go ahead and click on the shipping link here in the admin navigation drawer. And that will take you through to the shipping settings page. So as I mentioned, this is going to be an in-depth episode. So everything you're going to need to understand for adding shipping carriers and delivery locations and how all of that works, we're going to be covering in this video. So very, very excited to get going. So let's dive in. One thing I do want to mention really quickly is the Fastway Couriers integration. As I'm sure you've noticed up at the top here, we do see the Fastway Couriers logo. If you would like to use Fastway as your courier of choice, there will be another episode covering how to integrate and set that up. So do skip ahead to that video. This one will just be about adding the carriers and delivery locations and rules ourselves if you want to use a different courier or you'd like to set those rules up yourself. So let's dive right in. So in order to add a shipping carrier or a shipping provider, you'll notice at the top here there's a brief discussion on how to do that, just 3 steps. First, we'll need to create the carrier. So that could be DHL, Postnet, FedEx, or even Fastway if you'd like to set those rules up yourself. Then we're obviously going to need to add our delivery locations. And then we're going to just specify the cost for shipping. So you can see a very, very straightforward process, and we will be going through each one of these steps in detail now. So for the purpose of this demo, just to give you a good idea of how these shipping rules work, I'm going to be adding 2 different shipping providers, and I'm also going to be adding 3 different delivery areas or delivery zones, if you want to call them that, just to show you in detail how this would actually look in a real world scenario. These zones will firstly be in the immediate sort of area around, I guess, where you could say your store is located. Then the next one will be outside of that zone, so the rest of, say, South Africa. And then the final one is, a rule if I want to, say, deliver outside of South Africa, what would those charges look like? So I'm going to set all of those up. And then once we've handled that, we'll do a quick demo just to see how it looks. And then finally, right at the end of this video, I'll then show you how to override each one of those shipping rules on a per product level, just in case you need to provide even more specificity around delivery charges. So let's get started. So the first step, obviously, we need to, as it said over here, creating a carrier. So to do that, you'll see there are 2 sections available to you. First, current carriers, and then current delivery locations. And you can see here we haven't added anything yet. So let's start over here and click add a new carrier so that we can actually add our delivery carriers or our shipping providers. So I'm just going to click on that. And you can see here the carrier name we need to specify. So I'm going to call the first one DHL. You can obviously add the name of the provider that you're using, or just give it a nice descriptive name. I'm just going to do that and click Save Changes. And you'll see there straight away the screen has obviously been updated to reflect our carrier. So I'm just going to leave it at 1 for now. I know I said I was going to add 2, but let's just leave it at just DHL for now. And then I'll come back and add a second one afterwards. I just would like to show you how this then reflects with our delivery locations. So to add a delivery location, I'm sure you've guessed it, we're just going to click on add a new delivery location, and then you'll see a new modal will appear, which will then help us in adding a new location. So now if you remember, I want to add 3 different zones, one to a very specific local area around me. The second one will be to the rest of South Africa, and then the final one will be to the rest of the countries in the world. So let's add the first one, the local one first. So you'll see straight away we need to just choose a country. So it's not all /remaining countries. This is actually for this rule, I want to deliver to South Africa first. Okay. Then we'll see that once we choose a country, we then get presented with the state and postal code to fill in. Both of those are optional, but because, if you remember, I'm trying to specify a rule to a very specific area around me, in the province view, I'm going to choose this province for the shipping rule. And now I also want to specify a postal code. So this postal code in Gauteng will be the postal code where the shipping rule that we're about to add will be, I guess, like the cheapest, because it's the area closest to me. So let's just call that postal code of 2000, and then I'm just going to save changes. So let's just do that so you can see exactly how this rule gets added. Okay, so just to recap really quickly, we've added a carrier of DHL. We went through the delivery locations section, added a new delivery location. We specified to Gauteng in South Africa, specifically to this postal code area. So you can see it's a very, very specific area that we want to create a rule for. And then you'll see underneath that, we actually have some shipping rates that have now been made available to us. So what I'd like to do now is just quickly go over the different rates for this location that you see at the bottom here. So obviously the first column is the location, which is the one that we just added for this particular rule. Then we get an option to either enable or disable this shipping rule by just clicking either yes or no from this dropdown. We then have a single product rate for this shipping rule. This is for the first product that your customers will add to their cart. So let's just say, for example, because my store is selling guitars, for the first guitar that they add to their cart, we can then specify a shipping rate of, let's just say, 100 Rand. And then you'll see right next to that the additional product rate. That will be for every additional product that's added to their cart. So in my example where I've added 3 guitars, for the first guitar we will charge our customers 100 Rand, and then for every guitar after that that's added to the cart, we'll just add an extra 20 Rand to the shipping. So I hope that makes sense. Then finally, the flat rate per order is just, as I'm sure you've figured out, just a flat rate that gets added to this order no matter what quantity of items your customer chooses. So let's say, for example, on top of these standard product rates, we want to then also add just a flat charge of 250 Rand. Maybe we'll use that for insurance on the package. It's really up to you, but those are basically the shipping charges in a nutshell. I know this was probably a lot to take in one go, so I'm just going to recap really quickly what we've actually managed to do. So we've added our carrier, we've added a delivery location, which is a very specific delivery location in the Gauteng province. Once we did that, the shipping rates was updated to reflect the available rates that we can fill in for this particular carrier, and we've then just added in these rates for delivery to this location. So that's pretty cool. But now I'm sure you're looking at this thinking, well, that's really great, Chris, but now what about my customers outside of this very specific area in Gauteng? What shipping rules are applied to them? Well, currently there aren't any, so we actually won't be able to ship to them at all. So let's actually now add another shipping rule. I know I said I was going to add 3. I'm actually going to add 4 because I've just decided that I wanted one rule for everyone in this very specific area in Gauteng. I'm then going to add another rule for everybody else within this province outside of this code. Then I will add one for everyone in South Africa, and then finally a default shipping rate for everyone outside of South Africa. So let's just add those really quick. I know it sounds like a lot, but it's actually really, really easy. So let's try that really quickly now. So firstly, as we added this rule, we are just going to have to add another one now for everyone else in Gauteng outside of this area. So to do that, as we did before, we're just going to click on add a new delivery location. So I'm just going to click that. The same modal appears again. So I'm going to then say, okay, well, this is for South Africa. So let's just choose that. Then we will now just choose Gauteng as the province. Now this will be delivery for everyone else in this province. So I'm not going to specify a postal code here. I'm just going to choose the province, and I'm just going to click save. Let's see what that looks like. So now you'll see here on the right under delivery locations, we have a new one just to South Africa and Gauteng, which will then link or apply to anyone placing an order outside of this specific postal code, but still within Gauteng. So that's actually great. So now you can see we're going to be covering everyone in Gauteng in this very specific area. Then we have a rule for everyone else within this province. I'm going to say shipping available yes, because we're going to activate this rule. Then we can actually fill in the rest of the rates. Now you've seen here, I actually didn't click update at the bottom here when I filled in the previous rates, so that's why everything's gone back to 0, but we'll actually just get to that. Let's just add all our locations first, and then we'll come through and add in all our rates. So that's great. So now we have these two rules. Now what about everyone else within South Africa that's outside of Gauteng? Well, if you haven't figured it out yet, we're just going to click on add a new delivery location. We're just going to choose South Africa one last time. And for the province and postal code, we're actually just going to leave those unselected. So you'll see here province all/remaining provinces. So that means provinces outside of Gauteng, because we've already chosen that. And we're just going to keep postal code blank. So let's just click save. And you'll see there our third rule, South Africa all/remaining provinces. We have another rule for that. So that's amazing. We've actually covered within the province of Gauteng, the rest of that province, and then the rest of the country, just by adding these three rules. So up until this point, I really hope that makes sense. If at any point you are getting a bit lost, or you'd like me to explain something a bit better, please do drop a comment or a question in the comment section below, and I will be happy to help you out. So at this stage, the only rule that we need to set is for everyone outside of the country. So let's just say we'd like to now create a rule for everyone internationally. So to do that, yep, you've guessed it, we're just going to create one more rule, and we're just going to click on add delivery location, and we can actually just leave it as is. So all/remaining countries. If you had specific rules to maybe neighboring countries, you can then obviously follow the same process and just choose the countries that you want to add specific rules for. I'm just going to keep it simple and just do a flat rate for all countries outside of South Africa. So I'm just going to click save, and you'll see then that our final and fourth rule has been added there as all/remaining countries. And then in the rates for our DHL carrier, you'll see there that all four are now available to us. So now the final step is obviously just to supply these shipping rates for these different sections. So let's actually just go do that really quickly. So firstly, for our very, very localized and specific rule, I'm just going to say it's 50 Rand per product for the first product, and then 10 Rand for every product after that, because it's very, very close. I don't need to worry too much about that. There's no flat rate on this one, so we can just leave that as 0. Then within the rest of the province, outside of this very specific area, I'm going to say maybe 75 Rand for the first product, and then another 30 Rand for each additional product after that. And now, because it still is within the same province, I'm not going to add any flat rate onto that. It's actually still okay. But now for the outside provinces, or the rest, or the remaining provinces within South Africa, I'm going to say for each product will then be 100 Rand, and for each additional product after that, I'm going to charge 50 Rand, and then I just want an extra 50 Rand flat rate onto these orders as well, just to make sure that any costs are covered, or maybe I need to add some insurance onto that, so that's fine. And then for every other country in the world, I'm not going to worry about the single rate or the additional product rates on that. I'm just going to add a flat charge of 500 Rand per order, no matter what you order. So that those will be my charges for these different locations with DHL. Now, I did forget to click update last time. Don't forget to click update once you fill these in, just to make sure that your rates are saved. And there we go. We've successfully added DHL as a shipping provider for our online store. Now, as I mentioned previously, I was going to add an additional carrier just to really, really show you how this would look if you wanted more than one shipping provider on your store. Not to worry though, we're not going to have to add all the delivery locations again. Those will be populated for us or made available to us immediately. So let's just go and add in a new carrier just so that you can see what this looks like. So I'm just going to click add a new carrier. This one will just be FedEx. Whoops, let's just fix that. There we go. And I'm just going to click save changes so we can add another carrier. So you'll see there we have DHL, now we have FedEx, and our delivery locations will, the rules will be exactly the same for FedEx as well. So if I scroll down, you'll see that this has been now expanded quite a bit to include not only DHL over here, but also FedEx underneath that. So now for FedEx, we can now specify the shipping rules and charges rather for this shipping provider. Now, your users, when they go through the shipping process, which I'll demo after this, will then be able to choose between DHL and FedEx, as these are the two providers that I've created for my store. Whichever providers you create will obviously be reflected on your store for your customers. But then, depending on their courier of choice, the charges that we add here will then be applied for them automatically. So let's just run through that really quick. Let's add in some charges for this new carrier that we've added. You can see there the regions are exactly the same because we've already created them. But one thing I do want to change is the international shipping rules. So in my example, I'm going to pretend that FedEx can't actually ship outside of South Africa. So when we get to that one, I'm actually just going to disable this. So let's just run through these really quick. Let's add some charges. Let's say this is roughly half the charges of DHL. So we'll make the single product rate for this specific area in Gauteng 25. Any additional products will be 5 Rand, and we can leave the flat rate order just like that. For the rest of Gauteng, let's make that roughly 35 Rand. For every product after that, let's just call it 15. Again, no flat rate for these orders. Then for the rest of South Africa, let's just say it's 50 Rand per product with an additional 25 Rand for every product after that. And I'm just going to charge a flat rate of 25 Rand for every order to the rest of South Africa. And now, as I said, for the rest of the world outside of South Africa, I don't want to use FedEx at all. So I'm just going to select no in this shipping available option. And then once again, don't forget to click update just so that those rates are saved. And there we go. We can see all our rates have been added, and we've disabled shipping to all / remaining countries just with FedEx by choosing no in this drop down option over there. So now one final point just before we run off and actually demo this on the store itself. What happens if you do want to change these rules, or you want to remove one or add one? That's actually very simple. All we need to do then, if you, for example, need to remove a location, you just need to click on the delete icon over here for the location that you want to remove. If you do want to edit any of them, very straightforward. You're just going to click on the edit location pencil over here. And if you do just need to add another one, it's very, very simple. We'll just click add a new delivery location, and then you can just go through and add any new additional location that you want. So if, for example, I wanted to add a new area within Gauteng, I could just go and click add a new one, go through to South Africa again over here, choose the same province, Gauteng, and then add in a new postal code section, and then just hit save, and I will have a new shipping rule listed underneath each of the carriers over here to then provide the shipping charges for. So that's very, very straightforward. But I've spoken enough about this. Let's go and see what this looks like on the store itself. So to do that, if you've been following our other videos, you'll know that all you need to do is just click on visit your store over here in the navigation drawer. I've already done that from previous videos, so I'm just going to click on the tab that I've already got open just so that we can go back to our store. And let's run through a new order just so that we can see exactly how these shipping rules are applied. So I'm just going to choose this 6-string edition guitar. Let's choose, say, 3 in the green version. The reason I'm choosing more than one is just so that we can see exactly how the additional product shipping rates are applied. I'm just going to add that to my cart really quick, and let's go to checkout and get the process started. So as always, I'm just going to fill in this really quickly just so that we can see this process in action. And this is now where the country and code start becoming important when applying your shipping rules. So if you remember, we have a very specific rule. Sorry, I just went back to the backend system just so that we could look at this really quick. We have a very specific shipping rule for Gauteng on this particular postal code. So let's see if we can match this one up and see these rates either for DHL or FedEx applied for that delivery location. So to do that, I'm going to need to choose Gauteng and fill in an area code of 2000. Okay, so that's okay. City is actually fine as well, so we can fill that in. Now I'm going to choose South Africa and going to then specify Gauteng as the province and then fill in the postal code of 2000, and this will then link up with our shipping rules that we've specified for this specific area over there. So let's just click continue. And now you can see, if you've been following our previous videos, this screen has now been updated to allow the users to now select their shipping carrier of choice. So you'll see now we are actually presented with a drop-down where we can actually choose between the two carriers that we've added to the system. So you'll see there, once initially DHL is selected for us, and the shipping total is 70 Rand. So just to make sure that that is correct, let's go back to the admin control panel really quickly, and we'll see that for this specific delivery location, we indicated 50 Rand for the first product, 10 Rand for each product after that, with a flat rate of nothing, because we don't actually want to charge a flat rate for delivery to this location. So we added 3 products, so that means we need 50 Rand for the first one, and then an additional 10 Rand for the other 2, which does then in fact take us to 70 Rand. So there we go. Shipping, the shipping rule is obviously working. If we then change it to FedEx, we will see that the right-hand side of the page does get updated to reflect that new shipping cost to this area. So we can also just double check that. Let's go back to the admin control panel inside the FedEx section, because this is the one we chose for this specific location. It was 25 Rand for the first product, and then an additional 5 Rand for each product after that with no flat rate. So that's 25 for the first, and then 5 Rand each for the other 2, which will then take us to 35 Rand. So that's fantastic. So that's working perfectly. Okay, so what if we wanted to test out the other ones? Well, very, very simple. So let's go back a step to the checkout step, and let's change the delivery location. So we obviously, as you remember, filled in South Africa, Gauteng, and this postal code of 2000. So what happens if I say I want to deliver to a different province? Let's actually test this one out. So let's change the province to something that's not Gauteng. Let's say, for example, Northwest. We can change the postal code to anything. It doesn't really matter because we don't have a specific shipping rule for this. So now we're hoping that this shipping rule will actually be applied because the user is outside of Gauteng. So neither one of these will apply. This is the one that we're hoping will actually get added to the order. So let's try that out really quick. So let's just keep the billing address the same and no additional comments. And let's go forward and see what happens. So now we can actually see now straight away that the shipping detail page has been updated. So let's choose an option for delivery to Northwest in South Africa. DHL is selected automatically for us, and you can see here already this looks a bit different. So the shipping is now 200 Rand, and the flat fee has been applied of 50 Rand as well. So let's just go double check that for DHL by going back to the admin control panel, and this shipping rule over here where we have 100 Rand for each of the first products and then 50 Rand for each product after that with a flat rate of 50. So we can see the flat rate of 50 has been applied for us over there, which is good. And then the shipping of 200 Rand is made up of this initial 100 Rand for the first one and 50 Rand for each product after that. So that's 100 plus 100 is now 200. And there we go. We can see our shipping has been applied perfectly. Then similarly for FedEx, if we choose that one, you'll see it actually gets updated. And if you go and double check that, I'm sure you can see that that this rule actually has been applied correctly as well with our flat rate of 25 Rand over there. So that's awesome. So just to demo, I know this has been a long video so far. I did just want to cover really quickly the if we just go back to the admin control panel quick, what happens if there is no shipping available for a particular carrier, just so that you know what that looks like. So please just bear with me. I know this has been a long video, but we're almost done, I promise. So to do that, we're just going to go back to the checkout step, and let's choose something outside of South Africa. So let's actually choose Spain. Why not? Pretend that we live in Johannesburg in Spain. Okay, and then for the province, we can actually just choose anything. And let's just leave the code the same. So now you can see we're attempting to ship outside of South Africa. So hopefully our shipping rules will still work exactly as expected. So I'm just going to click on continue. And now we're on the shipping page again. But now you can see obviously our shipping options have been adjusted for Spain. You can see the shipping carrier for DHL actually worked perfectly. We have our flat rates of 500 Rand as we specified in our DHL shipping rule underneath all remaining countries. There you can see our flat rates of 500 Rand has been applied. So now what happens if we want to choose FedEx as our shipping carrier for countries outside of Spain? So let's actually see what's in this drop down. So you'll actually see FedEx is not even listed as an option. So DHL is the only option available to your customers for delivery outside of South Africa. So that is absolutely fantastic. So you can see just with that process, if I just go back to the admin control panel quick, although it was a bit of a long explanation, I really hope that this video has covered everything that you could possibly need in terms of answers to any questions you might have around adding shipping carriers and delivery locations. But please do let me know if there's anything that you'd like to go over in more detail, or if you have any questions or comments. As always, please leave those in the comment section below this video, and I will see you all in the next one.